The US is passing the one beautiful bill, and investors still have no idea what kind of impact this is actually going to have. Let's briefly talk about the general market, and then please address that directly. We've now picked up liquidity up here at $110,000, but in my VIP trading group, I also pointed out to you that we would very likely encounter resistance there again because there's a lot of liquidity and that we would correct first. And what happened? That's exactly what happened. We really had a nice short trade here, and sometimes it's just not that hard. So feel free to join the VIP trading group. It's 100% free. I show you when and how I open trades. But basically, I also showed you in the last video that I see two scenarios. Either we push above, go back in here again, and then break out. That didn't happen. Although we briefly pushed above, we then broke through here, and after that, the second scenario occurred. We tested the bottom again here and saw the breakout from there. And that's exactly how it happened. That's what I've been saying in the last videos. Now let's get to the current forecast. In my opinion, this is what it looks like here. We're in a very, very interesting zone here. We're really just below the all-time high here, and we've almost tested it 5 times now, so it's really super interesting. And it gets really exciting if we break through, because if we do, there's almost a clear path upwards. There's not that much liquidity up there. At the moment, we only have a significant amount of liquidity here at $111,000, but after that, it should move. And we've now formed a triangle here where we've really seen resistance several times already. And I can well imagine that we'll test it again here and then see the breakout and then really head towards a new all-time high. That's what I'm really seeing at the moment because we're currently at $108,000. I can well imagine that we'll grab this liquidity again here at $107,000 and see the bounce from there. That would definitely be realistic. That would also definitely fit with my scenario here, that maybe we'll see the breakout from here. That's roughly how I could imagine it. In my opinion, that would definitely be realistic as well. The USA has a gigantic debt problem. They keep taking on more debt, going further into debt, and the whole concept is based on debt. The problem is, at some point the debt will become so large that the system will collapse in on itself, and we're getting closer and closer to that collapse. However, I don't think that this collapse will happen within the next 5 years. But honestly, what's happening here is nonsense, because in the end, the money just keeps getting devalued. And people expected that things would be different under Donald Trump. People really thought Donald Trump would keep his promises and approach things differently this time. But now the new law has already been passed, namely the Big Beautiful Bill. This law is already set in stone. This is now being enforced, and people don't even understand the full implications. There are tax changes, specifically tax cuts, which we already saw in part back in 2017 when Trump was president. But this tax cut is now supposed to be permanent. Tips and overtime pay will, in most cases, be exempt from income tax. Child benefits are being increased, and as you can see, huge tax breaks for the average middle-class person in the USA. So actually, it's very, very good. But we also have cuts in the social welfare system. This mainly affects the healthcare sector, where there will be more cutbacks and higher work requirements to meet. In some cases, subsidies for companies in the areas of renewable energy and electric vehicles are also being withdrawn. That was also the reason why Elon Musk and Trump had a falling out. But now we come to the interesting part. The USA is now going to have completely new spending priorities. Much more money will go toward border security, air traffic controls will be modernized, and the defense budget is set to be increased again, even though the USA already has by far the largest military spending in the world. And now the question is, how does the USA plan to achieve this? On the one hand, they want to save money, but on the other hand, they want tax breaks, they want to modernize things here, pump more money into the military and so on. Where is the money going to come from? Especially since they want tax cuts, the US government will actually be taking in less money. And now we've arrived at the crucial point. The debt ceiling will be raised by nearly $5 trillion US, and that, my dear friends, is exactly what will send our markets into complete chaos. I mean, just look at the real estate market, government bonds, the money market, the stock market. We're talking about a relaxed addition of $5 trillion US here. And I'm not talking about American trillions here. I'm talking about German trillions of dollars. That's absolutely massive. And in comparison, you can really see how small we still are with Bitcoin. Bitcoin here at $2 trillion is way too cheap compared to the rest of the market. And that's just the thing. The debt ceiling is being raised. And that makes it pretty clear that in the future, a lot of money will be printed in the US. And that's the best thing that could happen to us. In the long run, I don't want to sugarcoat it at all. And in the long run, the US will eventually experience a huge collapse, which is not cool at all. But in the short term, over the next 2 or 3 years, it's extremely positive because the S&P 500 is at an all-time high even in this current bad market phase. The Nasdaq too is at an all-time high during this bad market phase, even though it's summer and the market is in a downturn. What do you think will happen if the US starts printing even more money now? I mean, Bitcoin is also close to its all-time high. We're in a really good position here. Why? Simply because we're following the M2 money supply? Simply because fresh liquidity is coming in here. And just based on the M2 money supply, we should see Bitcoin rise to over $150,000 in this cycle. But now, the US is joining in as well. They're also starting to print money. Starting in September, they will lower interest rates. And that's incredibly significant because with this new law, it's clear that the US will print much more money much faster and inject it into the markets. And let's just take a look at what happens when money flows into the markets. I mean, this here was the Corona COVID crash. We experienced a really massive crash. For a short time, it felt like the world was ending here. What did the countries do? Germany, America, and so on started printing money. We can see that here as well. Take a look at it. Starting roughly from that point, shortly after the Corona crash, the money printing began and the markets went absolutely wild. Because so much money flowed into the markets here, the markets had to go wild. And right now it looks the same to me again. Especially when I just turn on the USM2 money supply here, you can see that it's simply the most meaningful indicator. Everything depends on the US money supply. It was only when it rose massively here that we were able to see the crypto market explode as well. And right now we're also seeing an increase here, but not as significantly as in parts of Europe and so on. But that's about to change with the new law from Donald Trump. From now on, a lot of money will be printed here. And as I said, we're already at an all-time high with the S&P 500. What do you think will happen if even more money flows into the markets now? What do you think? How positive will this be for Bitcoin and for the altcoins? And then I really wonder how anyone can still be pessimistic right now. I mean, we can see that especially the Bitcoin long-term holders have started accumulating again. And just take a look at what happens when the Bitcoin long-term holders accumulate. Here they accumulated shortly after there was a huge price explosion in Bitcoin. Here they accumulated. Huge explosion. So the Bitcoin long-term holders, they really know what they're doing. And right now they're buying diligently because they know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. With the new law, with the further changes, you can clearly see the direction this is heading. And that direction is really positive. Take a look at the election activities. The addresses holding over 100 Bitcoins who are still buying like crazy despite all-time high prices. Of course, that includes people like Michael Saylor or BlackRock and so on. But they're the ones pushing this thing up while we have basically no retail market here. If you're involved right now, you're really brave because we pretty much have no retail market at all at the moment. And that's why I depend on your support all the more. So make sure to leave a like and a comment. I need the support because from a global economic perspective, no one is interested in the crypto space right now, but we're still hitting one all-time high after another. And that's what you need to understand. A lot of money is already flowing into Bitcoin now. Bitcoin is the asset that has performed the best among the major assets in recent months. All the money is already flowing into Bitcoin now. What do you think will happen with new capital? That will also find its way directly into Bitcoin because, I mean, it's not for nothing that the whales, the smart money, are already preparing for this. The path is already completely set in stone. Now we just have to walk it ourselves. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out the VIP trading group. All the details are in the description and see you next time. Bye.